Hello and welcome. My name is Anelisa Tony, and I will be presenting today's lecture. The title of the lecture is Dezemba, boss. A month, a mood, and is a thing. This lecture is going to be looking at the festive season or the holiday season in South Africa. And we're going to be going into some of the details in terms of the culture, the experience, why we do it, when we do it, and what is involved in a South African festive season. All right. The phrase Dezemba boss is a kind of like a slogan or yes, I'd say a slogan, a summertime slogan almost that has become associated with what we consider a festive season in South Africa. But basically, it's just an announcement that says it's December time. It's time to relax, to enjoy the fruits of your work throughout the year, and it's time to have a good time. December here is generally pronounced or styled this way, but it is another way of essentially saying it is December. Okay, let's jump into the contents for today's lecture. So again, when we talk about festive season, generally festive seasons differ or depend in different countries because obviously holidays and seasons may dictate when certain countries tend to shut down or have more of a downtime period. So we'll be looking at what is festive season in South Africa when it happens. We will also be looking at the details of why we celebrate the festive season outside of just practical reasons in terms of like holidays, but what is a celebration and what is the reason that we go so hard when we do. Then I'll also be looking in detail in terms of what celebrations look like in South Africa. Obviously, we have different cultures, different groups of people, and in different provinces, it can look like different things. So we'll look at regional differences and then do a primary focus on Cape Town, which is the city that most EF students will be at. But should you get an opportunity to travel to the other cities as well, I will try and make sure that we provide enough details for all of that. And then finally, some safety tips and practical advice to help you enjoy the festive season in the best way possible. Let's jump into it. I'm going to start off with another phrase that is very prominent. The phrase is generally, well, it's uh, phrased as focal as festive. I would like to explain, though, that the term focal is considered a kind of expletive of sorts or a non-polite word, if you will. So, in using it, or if you say that word on its own, the context can mean different things and sometimes not necessarily good. But in this phrase, which is another and now probably more common slogan for December time, is this Focalist Festive, which just means it's December time, it's time to be free. Um, Basically carefree, no cares, just enjoying and living life to the fullest with zero worries. Why this phrase and why is it such a perfect descriptor of this time period? Well, first of all, let's talk about when the festive is and what the festive is in South Africa. When we talk about festive season, we are talking about the predominant holiday period, which is around 3 to 4 weeks, depending on whether it is for school students, elementary and high school students, or if for university students. University students generally tend to get longer vacations. Um, so theirs might span a period of around 7 weeks. But for the majority portion of the country that is related to public schools and businesses that run on the annual calendar, it will run to like 3 to 4 weeks, right? Starting around mid-December to early January. And it is a period where social life, traveling, and holidays kind of like come to a peak for most South Africans. And it is a combination of both religious holidays, civic holidays, so like national government holidays, as well as more international holidays, such as like the New Year period. And all of those are kind of recognized at a time that is very centralized. And so that block of time towards the end of the year is when we wrap up our business in South Africa. And that is what the festive season is, or that is what we mean when we say the festive season in South Africa, right? Starting from around, say, the 10th of December, going straight through to around the 15th to the 20th of January. Okay. So obviously, December is kind of like the key month, but festive season, is fair to say, is not just in December. It constitutes both December and January, because most of the work or businesses start to pick up around mid-Jan going forward. So it's a bit of half Jan, half December, but it does also tick up a little bit earlier than that because around November already you start to see celebrations, events, or ceremonies in different cities and municipalities where they are essentially kind of like initiating and welcoming and bringing in the festive season. So celebrations on a larger scale do tend to start a bit earlier, but this is the period where businesses are closed, schools are closed, and most people are on holiday. Um, and so that is the period that tends to form the chunk of what we consider the downtime or the festive time in South Africa. Some of the public holidays that are recognized are on the 16th of December, we celebrate the National Day of Reconciliation, which is a public holiday celebrated in the country. Um, it is as the title or as the name of the holiday suggests, a day that is observed in memoriam or in honor of um, uniting South Africans under the different cultures, under the different races, and recognizing that difference, but also doing it in the hopes of not just noting difference, but understanding the importance of similarity and common ground and why it matters. The original basis of the holiday was commemorated on the, I think historically based on the victory of the Voortrekkers, who won over the Zulus at the Battle of the Blood River, which was in 1838. Yes, I just want to double check that. And so obviously with a history that is kind of like based in war and blood, it makes sense that the holiday has kind of like changed and been rebranded over time, not necessarily the intention of erasing its original roots, but more kind of like focusing on its relevance within modern day South Africa and what the holiday can mean for South Africans in the modern age. All right. Christmas is another big holiday, one that is predominantly obviously celebrated in a lot of Christian based countries. And even though South Africa is multi-faith based in terms of the religions that are recognized, we do, in terms of calendar days, tend to acknowledge Christian holidays such as Easter as well as Christmas. And then Day of Goodwill, or what is also considered Boxing Day, is on the 26th. New Year is, of course, on the 1st. And then because of this cluster of holidays, which also generally causes an interruption, for practical reasons, a lot of businesses, even the ones that don't do the long-term close for 3 to 4 weeks, will generally close around the final 2 weeks of December, or at the very least, the last week of December, to accommodate these cluster public holidays and to allow for a kind of like end of year shutdown to wrap things up. All right, let's move on. So, why December? December in South Africa, one is summertime. So for that reason alone, it obviously makes sense that summer is the season where people want to be outside. They want to enjoy their free time a bit more. So calendar-wise, it tends to work out for us in that sense. But the Southern Hemisphere also is kind of ideal, not just for climate purposes, but our the way that the South African school system is organized is we operate in terms, 4 quarters, and the final one ends around the beginning of December and November. That is when students generally write their final exams, and then school administration wraps up by 5th, 10th December. Most schools are done and closed. It is generally just like teachers who are still left prepping to get ready for the following year. And so that then also means a large population or a large section of the population is available to um, enjoy more outdoor activities, which is, I think, in part why the season makes sense with kind of like the time of year, right? Then, of course, in terms of economic rhythm, December time is also the time where people tend to move around a lot. South Africa is a country where um, internal immigration is still very much a big thing. So, in December, when schools close and people close and companies close, people will move from the bigger cities to their smaller towns, their smaller villages, to the countryside to be able to see family members that they perhaps have not seen throughout the rest of the year. So it is a very, very big and national period that is recognized in many different ways because of how consistent, in terms of behaviors and patterns, that we are in what we do and how we do it and the scale at which it happens. All right. So, what defines festive outside of schools being closed and it being holidays? Some of the big things that happen, like I mentioned, is internal migration, where people will have the opportunity, and they generally get long enough periods where they can go home, go visit family members in the further regions or in the rural areas. So this tends to mean that there's a lot of heavy road traffic, buses, taxis, people driving long distances. South African roads are a intense situation in December, excuse me, because this time is such a peak period for movement. And again, because a lot of people are off at the same time, and naturally, if everyone is on holiday at the same time, it is going to mean a lot more movement for travel or holiday purposes, right? It is also a time for outdoor celebrations. South African summers are absolutely gorgeous. Even if you go to some of the hotter regions of the country, you are going to experience a lot of beautiful nature, fauna, flora. And then if you go to some of the provinces or cities where the climate is a bit more kinder with a good mix of both sun and moisture, you can win either way. But lots of outdoor activities, hiking, briaring, beaches, camping, markets, festivals. This is a peak season for all of those. Traditional ceremonies also tend to peak around this time. This happens a lot in the eastern coast with groups like the Xhosa and the Zulu, ceremonies like initiation ceremonies where young men have to go through the initiation process where they are going through initiation schools, learn about manhood. December is a peak time for this, again, because schools are closed and because the initiation school process generally requires a period of around a month or longer. Kids who have finished matric, which is their last year, and this is when boys will go to initiation school, they will then have enough time to be able to go to the mountain and go to the rural areas to partake in this ceremony. Weddings are also a very big thing that happen around December time, again, owing to weather and just the general festivity and celebration that takes over at that time. There is increased shopping and retail activity. There are seasonal events all around the country in different provinces, based on the different cultures and demographics that live there. And a lot of businesses close, especially like I mentioned, in that final week of December or the last 2 weeks of December, which again is in part to accommodate the cluster of public holidays that would otherwise kind of like interrupt the flow. And also to kind of give everyone a bit of a breather at the end of the year to finally like wrap things up and give people just a week or two to catch their breath before the new week or before a new year begins in January. In terms of what to expect when it comes to travel, based on, again, the large levels of migration, and because we have a beautiful country that South Africans love to explore, travel is a big factor. So there is a lot of traffic, air and road. Flights are generally more expensive. So if you are trying to travel December time and you're moving between the cities, it is smart to kind of like to book ahead, outside of just price, availability as well, because they do get booked up. And then, as an alternative to that, people tend to drive a lot more, which is the more prominent means of transportation. Buses are a majorly popular means of transportation. Taxis, with the minibus taxis, some of them do long distance trips, and you get instances where people who live in a particular village will club money together or put money together and then hire out a minibus taxi that will specifically take their luggage and then drop them off at whatever village that they are traveling to over a long distance. And then these are the kinds of movements that obviously lead to high traffic jams, especially on national roads. If you are going to be traveling or plan to be traveling, it is always, always important to make sure that you check routes, make sure that you have enough information, as much as you can, which are the best ways to get there. Be mindful of travel times and always make an extension for whatever you have planned for, because I promise you, it is going to be busy. Irrespective of where you're going, it is going to be busy because in addition to the people who are coming into the country for tourism and enjoying the beautiful weather, that is also the time when most South Africans get to kind of like enjoy the country and move around a bit more. Accidents are also a very big issue, but road agencies or road safety agencies tend to be way more visible around that time because of the high levels of traffic. So there is a higher level of safety presence on the roads to kind of mitigate and manage potential damages that could occur. All right. If you are someone who is trying to do business in December, I think depending maybe on the industry, obviously, no, it's not possible for a whole country to fully shut down. So things still do go on. Banks will open on days that are not public holidays. Hospitals are still available, but for the most part, a lot of institutions tend to run on what is called skeleton staff, because most people have taken leave and have taken holidays to go see their families, taken downtime because it's the end of year and they need to wind down. Retail and hospitality, even though they are extremely busy, also tend to run on limited staffs. Hospitals are especially extremely busy at that time, in part due to road accidents increasing, as well as other incidences that may occur because of um, the kind of like excitement and drinking and other things that happen during December. So you may find a bit of slowness when it comes to certain services or certain sectors, primarily because it is downtime for them and they do not have as much staff available on hand. So if you are also someone who is trying to do business at that time or visiting for those purposes, depending on whether you have pre-arranged, it is something to kind of be mindful of, or that there may be services you're not able to get hold of simply because you catch them at a time where they are either operating at reduced hours or just not operating at all until early January. All right, getting to the good stuff. So, food is a big thing. In South Africa, we love the outdoors, we love food. And in terms of food and what to expect, braais are definitely the go-to thing. I would assume that most households, even ones where people are not meat eaters, there is going to be some kind of fire or barbecue situation going on. So braais are very much a big a national cultural event. Um, Seven colors. There's a plate that you can see here, where you get some meat or stews, a potato salad, some beetroot, cream spinach, a savory rice, and some vegetables. This can look like a different combination depending on the family that you come from and how they choose to put the plate together. But the seven color plate is a South African staple that you will find across the country in different provinces and different cultures. But it is one of the fundamental meals or cuisines that you get when we talk about the festive season. And then again, you get lots of other opportunities to kind of taste and experience different kinds of foods and outdoor events such as pop-ups, markets, craft and fairs that happen in different parts of the countries. And those will vary depending on the region, on the province, and the kind of culture that dominates that province. Just as we have diversity in food, the same tends to apply with activities and festivities. Depending on the province that you're in, there will obviously be specific variations. But for the most part, covering the kind of like four major provinces here. In the Western Cape, coastal, so beaches are a big thing. Same thing with KwaZulu-Natal in the Eastern Cape. Markets, hiking, and other outdoor musical events in the Western Cape, as well as Cape Town. Those tend to be like the big regional markers in terms of what makes a festive season. And because it is a province, sorry, that has a lot of international presence, you also do tend to get events where you find international artists and festivals where you have international artists who come to South Africa and perform there as well. KZN is known year-round for its beautiful weather. It is particularly famous in December for being very humid, but it is a province known for its beaches, internationally renowned beaches for surfing contests and other reasons. Surf culture is a big thing, but if you're looking for coastal beach life, KZN is the province for that. They have beautiful resorts as well that give a very island style feel. Gauteng is more inland. There, if you're someone who likes safaris and nature events, then that can work a bit more. But in terms of malls, more organized events, festivals, family gathering, picnics, those tend to be kind of like the markers of that region and how the festival is celebrated. Gauteng is also very interesting because it is one of the provinces that has the highest number of internal immigrants working in it. During December, it experiences this weird quiet where a lot of the population that generally lives there leaves to go to their home provinces to see family and takes a holiday. So Joburg specifically, which is a hub and is constantly running throughout the year, is most quiet at that time. So you do kind of get to see a bit of a shift there, where it's peak everywhere else, but it does tend to kind of like calm down in the Gauteng province. And then the Eastern Cape, which is my home, also very coastal. So beach culture is very much a big thing. Music festivals, homecoming, and community events tend to be prime there to be like to serve as entertainment for people who are coming back home from other bigger cities and they're now coming back to see their families. The Eastern Cape is a very big province for this. And because of that, there do tend to be a lot of like traditional events, music events, but events that celebrate culture and a sense of homecoming and family and relaxation, enjoying the December downtime. All right. Now, to make it more specific and to look at the city that we are in, festive in Cape Town, you are experiencing a warm Mediterranean climate. It's big on outdoor lifestyle, beaches, hikes. If you're someone who likes markets, then the waterfront and other local markets are generally very popular at that time, and they are extremely packed because of the lovely weather. Cape Town also has a lovely array of beaches, so there is never a shortage of options in terms of where to go, whether you are a surfer, someone who just wants to sit on the sand, if you want to actually be in the water and enjoy it. From the south to the north, different parts of the city offer different views. Different temperatures. Some waters may be colder than others, but there is definitely a beach for every kind of person. And then obviously seasonal events where it is more central in the CBD, be it pop-ups or in the smaller towns that surround Cape Town as well. You do tend to find a lot of lovely festivals or markets that happen that are very seasonal at that time. Markets that sell things that are very specific, whether it's fruits, foods, wines. That can be a great way to kind of enjoy Cape Town. Music is a major, major, major one. So if you are someone who loves music, you love outdoor festivals, then December time or the festive time is the perfect time to be able to explore and enjoy the city and the outdoors while enjoying good tunes as well. All right, let's get to the tips. If you are in Cape Town and you are trying to enjoy a South African festival, what are some things that you should be doing and should be mindful of? If we're summarizing and kind of like focusing on the key ones, I would say in terms of traveling, obviously, I mentioned traffic is a very big issue. So being mindful of road safety campaigns, um, making sure that you plan trips. If you're going to be driving or if you're having a driver drive you around, try and get as much information as possible, figure out routes. Generally avoid late night driving, and if it's possible, try and hire a car, use an Uber. And then if you're doing long distance, taking breaks. The nice thing with South Africa is there's always like garages or stops in between the cities that are not too far apart where you can catch a moment for the longer trips and make sure that you are well rested for your drive. Personal safety is obviously a big thing, whether you are moving just within Cape Town or throughout the country. Um, Police or security presence does tend to be a bit more heightened during December because of the fact that there is more people movement. And so they are mindful of trying to make sure that everyone enjoys it as safely as possible. But again, as tourists, it is always good to make sure that you're mindful in busy tourist spots. In Cape Town, they have the CCID as shown here. If ever you have questions or you're not sure about something, these are the people that you will generally ask to find information if you've lost something or want to get some help. Um, then the CCID is available to help. There are different variations of this kind of like local security in different cities and municipalities. So depending on where you are or where you go, generally the South African Police Service is where you would inquire or ask for help if you are in a serious situation. But be mindful of where you go, how you get there, who you're going with, and just try and plan your trips as much as possible, but also communicate so that other people know where you are for safety and for safety's sakes. It is sunny season, so biggest tip that you can get in terms of weather and taking care of yourself is make sure that you use sunscreen, hats, hydrate as much as possible. Thankfully, South Africa is not really a malaria country, so that is not something that is an issue, but mosquitoes are a thing, and the sun does tend to be quite hot. If you go to regions that are a bit more humid, like KZN or Durban, then there being or using protective measures is probably going to be a bit more helpful to make sure that you stay hydrated and safe. And then when it comes to money and budgeting, again, peak season, it means exactly that. It's going to be peak prices, peak costs. So whether you are shopping, buying souvenirs, booking accommodation, hiring cars, Always make sure that you check and compare across different platforms, across different services and companies. If you can, book things early to avoid disappointments. When it comes to events as well, buy tickets as early as possible to avoid price increases. If you buy later, it will generally cost a bit more. And then make sure that you shop wisely, right? Pick places or markets tend to offer better prices, say maybe than malls. So if you can find nice markets where you find items that are a bit more special and unique, then that also allows you to get a bit more bang for your buck while getting items that are memorable. Okay, so to summarize our checklist of tips, plan and book early, whether it is events, accommodations, or transport to avoid disappointments. Find activities on sites like Quicket and Web Tickets. These sites are great for events that are indoor, outdoor, whether you want to look for events in Cape Town or in any of the other parts of the country. You can find free activities, paid activities, depending on every genre or whatever may appeal to you: music, art, business, conferences, tech, gaming, you name it, you will find it. Make sure that you're safe on the roads, whether you are traveling locally or nationally. Obviously, if you are visiting and you are a tourist, one of the things that you are probably definitely going to want to do is to immerse yourself as much as possible in the communities and cultures that you are learning about within South Africa. So, in doing that, always be mindful of the people and the spaces that you're in and be engaged. Learn. South Africans also love to learn. So, whatever you are learning, you are going to be around people who probably want to learn from you as well. And that will always guarantee a lovely cultural experience. One that I love to push is definitely support local businesses, especially vendors or people who are small scale, produce, make their own products or farming goods. If you drive throughout the country, especially into town or into province, you'll see a lot of farmers who tend to sell their wares or fruits or produce on the roads. Some of the most delicious pineapples and grapes I think that I've ever had have been on road trips as we travel throughout the country. So if you do get an opportunity to do that, please, please, please try and support local businesses as much as possible. And then, Brai, have a lekker time. Enjoy December. Make sure that you have a festive season worth remembering, and then go back home and share what a South African festive season looks like. If you'd like to know more information about some of the details that I provided and find out even further, then these are the websites that you can go to and search. That is going to be all. Thank you very much for your time. I hope that you have learned and now you understand what we mean when we say Dezemba boss. Enjoy the South African festive. May you have a great time if you are still here to celebrate it with us. And this lekker, it's a good time. Festive is the best time to be in SA, I think. Thank you for your time. That will be all. Bye.